Today's video is sponsored by EditorsKeys. Of all my fancy gear I've spent money on, the one category of equipment which never gets outdated are microphones. These things retain their value incredibly well, and once you invest in a good microphone, they usually stay with you for many years. The microphone we're taking a look at today is the SL600 from EditorsKeys. This is a microphone which has been around for quite a while. I believe it was introduced around 10 years ago, so the fact that it's still being sold today is quite a statement to how this has stood the test of time. Now, EditorsKeys is sponsoring this video, so this isn't exactly a review, but more of a showcase in terms of what's neat about this microphone. All the audio you're listening to right now is from the SL600. It's a USB large diaphragm condenser microphone, and it interfaces through a single USB Type-B connector. It does ship with a really nice and long USB Type-B to USB Type-A cable. It's a 3-meter long cable to be exact, and you'll find it together with the mic in the really protective hard case which the microphone comes in. Inside the case is also a shock mount for the SL600. It's a really sturdy all-metal shock mount, and it's really nice that they also throw in a couple of replacement rubber bands for the shock mount's suspension. Now, the shock mount is a pretty crucial element, especially for a desktop condenser microphone, and this is a superbly effective shock mount. I can tap my finger firmly directly against the shock mount, and even this gets isolated from the transducer. So if you do, say, bump the table which the microphone is sitting on, or bump the mic stand which the microphone is being mounted on, shy of the actual sound of the bump or tapping, the vibrations from the impact do not overload the mic and ruin your recording. The SL600 is a very no-frills plug-and-play USB microphone, so there is no setup or software installed required to use this with a Mac or PC. This even works with iPad, but that's not to say that the mic itself isn't loaded with a bunch of helpful features. In fact, most of these features come in hardware, which is rare these days. I really like how everything here are physical controls instead of software. You get a 3.5mm headphone jack for live monitoring. You can also route your computer's audio to play through the headphone jack. And my favorite bit again is you have an analog volume dial for that headphone output. This means you actually get hard stops at the minimum and maximum volumes, and you get independent absolute volume control, which comes downstream of the software volume levels. You get the typical low cut filter and -10 decibel pad switches like you would on most microphones, but what this has, which a lot of USB mics don't, is a gain knob for the mic on the mic itself. I cannot stress how useful this is for dialing in the input sensitivity of the mic. It's actually one of the most annoying things about many other USB microphones, which do not have physical gain controls on the mic. You've got to navigate an on-screen interface to fine-tune your mic's input, whereas on the SL600, it's extremely direct and instant. You just turn it down if it's too loud, or turn it up if you need more. I also appreciate how all the controls on the microphone are positioned so all of them are accessible to the user. There's nothing on the back of the mic hidden away from me, so as the person speaking into the mic, I have access to every control available. Even the headphone jack is right up front, so no cables running around the mic to you. Now let's talk about sound quality, because that's the most important thing about any microphone. It needs to sound good. You've been listening to the SL600 for this entire video. I have not done any amount of EQ to the microphone in post, but I have applied the same two things I do to all the rest of the audio in my videos, and that's a compressor to level off my speech, and some noise reduction because I always film with the air conditioning on, and this particular one in my studio is a pretty loud air conditioner. The maximum sample rate this can deliver is 48 kHz at 16-bit. But in terms of actual audio character, I'm really liking the way this sounds. It has a very warm low end with a very good deal of clarity in the higher frequencies. The transducer in this is a 34mm diaphragm. That's a bit more than 1 inch, which makes this a proper large diaphragm condenser. There is a blue LED inside the microphone which lights up the transducer as you plug the microphone in. This is definitely something that grew on me after a while, because which other microphone draws this much attention to the transducer itself as you're using it? It's also got a cardioid polar pattern, which means two things. It minimizes sounds which are not coming from the front, and you get a proximity effect, which means the lower frequencies get more accentuated the closer you speak to the microphone. So if you want that deep, boomy voice, you want to get as close to the microphone as you can. So that's going to give you those big vocals. Now, I am currently using an external pop filter with the SL600. This one's also made by EditorsKeys. It's a really well-made dual-layer pop filter, but the SL600 actually already has a pop filter built in. If I move this pop filter out of the way real quick, you could actually get clean speech directly out of the SL600 without an additional pop filter. Now, I am holding back my plosives a little bit because I'd say the built-in one is only moderately effective compared to an external one. For the stronger, more prominent P's and T's, it is certainly still recommended to use an external pop filter with the SL600. For a studio quality microphone, the $200 price point for the SL600 is really fair as far as large diaphragm condensers go. And being a USB microphone, you don't need to spend extra on an audio interface to get it working with your computer. Just plug this in, and that's it. I'll leave links below for anyone interested, and I'll be seeing you around.